What's up, you guys? It's Monday. You know what time it is. It is time to run it back with me, Suli McCullough, and my man, Ross the Boss. I'm sorry, Ross the Boss. If I'm going to say anything about what the world has taught me, it's taught me never take anything for granted. Appreciate what you have, when you have it, and who you have it with. And with that, let's run it back, y'all, and talk some NBA. Ross, take it away.
I'm Ross the Boss, and I want to talk NBA with you, cowboy. Suli,
He's officially back, y'all.
I'm back, baby. I'm back. I'm excited to be here. We're going to talk NBA. Before we get started with a great show, I want to ask about your jersey. I love when you wear the jerseys. Every show, it's a different jersey. What jersey today, Suli?
Well, I got to keep it real. I'm going back into the archives. This right here, everybody, Dr. J, the great Julius Irving, for his birthday. That's right, we're showing birthday love to one of the GOATs, the all-time GOATs, Dr. J. Without Dr. J, no Michael Jordan, no Vince Carter, no anybody that has ever dunked, no Spud Webb, no little Spud Webb.
And today's his 71st birthday.
That's right. Happy birthday, Dr. J. We love you. We love your contributions to basketball. This is the perfect jersey to rep for today.
I agree with you. I saw him play in 1983 against the Lakers in the championship. I was a kid. My dad took me to the game. It was the first championship I've ever seen. I saw him, Daryl Dawkins, Maurice Cheeks, unbelievable series. And of course, the Lakers won. But
Mo Cheeks, you saw?
Mo Cheeks. Oh, yeah, it was a great series.
You actually saw Dr. J play live. I'm a little jealous about that.
I saw Dr. J play live against the Lakers, 1983-82, at the Forum. There was no Staples Center. I saw Dr. J play. It was unbelievable. It was great. I loved it. Our first segment today is called Prime Cuts.
Prime Cuts?
Prime Cuts. We're calling it Prime Cuts. We're talking about last week. What are the best things that happened?
Boss, I think
we're talking about is the Brooklyn
Prime
Nets.
Cuts. Yeah, I have to clarify. It is NBA Prime Cuts because I don't want people to think we suddenly have a beef sponsorship. Okay?
We will soon. That's what I'm pulling for, Suli. But listen, I want to talk to you about the Brooklyn Nets.
Okay.
Are they the best team in basketball? They won 6 straight. They had a 5-game road trip in the West Coast. They beat everybody, beat the Lakers, beat the Clippers, they beat Phoenix, they beat Sacramento. They beat everybody. And early in the year, they beat Utah by 34 points. Not 24, not 14, but 34 points to beat Utah, who's been the hottest team in the West. Is this team the best team in the NBA?
I don't know if I can say they're the best team in the NBA. I will give you this, though. They are the hottest team in the NBA, and they're executing when they have to execute. That game against the Clippers last night was one of those where I was like, okay, no KD. We're going to just see what they got. And Kyrie is unbelievable. First of all, that dude is a basketball master. He is so good at the game of basketball. I think half the time, he's not even thinking about basketball. I think he's thinking about how to end world hunger and things that are loftier than even you and I can comprehend. This dude is that good. And James Harden, he got clowned earlier in the year, and undeservedly so. That dude really is an official point guard. And when he needs to get a bucket, he can get a bucket. I'm going to tell you who I think was the difference in that Clippers-Brooklyn game.
Okay, and I'll give you my difference when you're done with yours. Go ahead.
I'm going to tell you who the difference was. The difference was a guy by the name of Bruce Brown, okay?
Bruce Brown? Who's Bruce Brown? What are you talking about, Bruce Brown?
He had enough points in that game. He was a presence. He was fearless. That's when you know you have a good squad. When the superstars shine like you expect, but then you get this unexpected contribution from a dude that, quite frankly, has too much of a regular name for me to even be talking about right now.
Bruce Brown, I don't even know who that is. I mean, I know who he is, but I mean, I barely saw him play. He was fine. I feel Joe Harris is more the guy that's out there. But let me tell you something about that game. Okay. 11 seconds left. Leonard was driving to the basket.
Yes.
Harden does this acting job like he was pushed by like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Terminator.
Right.
Ball's over.
Right.
They call the foul on Leonard. The ball goes the other way. The Clippers lose, which is unbelievable. I was so upset because the refs actually made that game so the Clippers lost. Clippers had that game won. They were down by 10 points with like a minute left. They came back and took the lead. And
I got to tell you something, boss.
Guess who scored the winning basket for the Nets?
I was watching that game, and I was ready to start tweeting already. Oh, the Clippers gave it up. They made that same mistake where they're trying to match buckets with a team that is offensively too gifted to just trade buckets with. And lo and behold, Clippers start making a little bit of a climb, right? They cut the lead to inside of 10. Then they cut it to 8. Then they cut it to 6. And I'm like, wait a minute. My Clippers are going to finally fulfill the prophecy that they have owned me forever. And then the refs had to get involved.
And the refs got involved, and
they completely got involved.
Paul George supposedly has like a minute count they do with
a minute restriction. He can't play more than 33 minutes.
Joke. It's a joke in the middle of the season, but they did that because everybody's so scared of somebody getting fired. God forbid he goes 11 seconds over his minute count. 11 seconds left. Instead of putting your best shooter in who was tearing it up that game, they left him out because of his minute restriction. I was so mad about that too. That's not basketball. Do you think they would do that back in the Dr. J days? No.
Oh, of course not.
Now. They baby these guys so much. It's unbelievable.
They would never sit Dr. J. Dr. J would not allow it. Dr. J would write a prescription saying, put me in the game, okay? That's what would happen. I thought that was terrible, and let's revisit that, because here's my thing about Paul George. I like Paul George. I think he's taken a bad rap for what happened in the bubble. We're going to let that go. But that guy was cooking. He had 32 points.
32 points!
He had as many points as his minute restriction. What is that all about? If you're cooking that much...
11 seconds left. Just put him out there.
Put another... Even if you run him as a decoy, you have him out there as a threat.
I mean, come on. It's ridiculous. We have a question, Suli. George Tucci... Montreal's famous George Tucci, that George Tucci. Utah are in first place in the West. They are 9-1 in their last 10 games. My question is, can they parlay their great play into a Western Finals appearance despite their playoff experience? Suli, what do you think? Is Utah for real?
George, that is a great question. I've watched Utah play. I'm delightfully entertained by their play. I think they have a balanced team. Donovan Mitchell, that dude can get buckets whenever he wants. I think that they're going to have a nice deep run in the playoffs. I don't know if I can say Western Conference Finals, because that means I'm cutting myself and saying my Clippers aren't going to get there. But I do think that they're going to go deep in the playoffs. So Western Conference, we'll see. It's all up in the air, but they do have a strong squad, and I am a fan. So
and the Clippers played Utah on Friday night. I watched that
in a back-to-back. They didn't just play Friday night; they played on Wednesday and they played on Friday. So they had two games.
So I watched the Friday game, and the Clippers looked great. I thought that was the best game of the year for them. I mean, they beat Utah. They broke their streak. Donovan Mitchell, I'm just saying this now, that guy was shooting threes like lights out. I mean, they were coming back. They were down by like 6 points with like 20 seconds left. Donovan Mitchell came this close to winning that game. He came so close, Suli.
Yeah, he did. I watched both of those games. And in the first game, the Clipper Stars didn't play, all right? So I figured, all right, Utah is going to blow their doors off. But I learned something. I learned that this is a very tough team, and they have a next man up mentality. You know what I mean? If the Stars aren't playing, you got to do what you got to do and make it happen. This is your opportunity to shine. So when they lost that first game, I was like, okay, that's cool. We'll see what happens on Friday night. Friday night, I watched the game, and to my surprise, I agree with you. The Clippers did look their best. They looked like a team that you do not want to see at all. Lou Williams played great that game. Actually, everybody played great that game.
Even their owner played great. Their owner was on the sidelines I
love that. I love the fact that Steve Ballmer is getting these single shots of him sitting with his mask on, just enjoying the game like a lonely billionaire should. Like he really he
really does. I mean, he's by himself. He's not with anybody else.
Yeah,
he's right behind the bench. He looks unbelievable.
That is the kind of commitment. Can I just say this, boss? I love this new ownership in the NBA. Like, I think Mark Cuban was the first to sort of usher in the whole rich guy that really likes basketball, that's going to buy a team. I think Ballmer's taking it to the next level. He's like, hey, I've got even more money than this other guy, and I'm going to buy a team. I'm going to overpay for it, and I'm just going to really enjoy it. So he's the perfect kind of owner. I love the shots of Ballmer. It just adds to the whole Clipper experience.
I agree.
Maybe he could take Chuck the Condor to a game. Who knows? You know what I mean?
I'm curious to see what
we
our
haven't
audience
seen
has
the
to say.
mascot all year.
I want to hear what our audience has to say. If you agree with Suli, if you agree with me or disagree, whatever, comment now. Let us know what you think. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Follow us, MFSN, The Hub. Subscribe and ring that bell too. Why not? And press like. You know what I mean? So we have a new segment we're doing. It's called Dunk of the Week. And I'm very,
very excited about
Dunk of the Week. Let me just tell you, can you guess what the Dunk of the Week is? You have any idea?
I have a really good idea. This was, in terms of dunks this week, this was an exceptionally good week. So much so that we were like, you know what? We've got to devote an entire segment that just highlights the Dunk of the Week. And I think this is the perfect inaugural dunk to be highlighted. And we have a special guest that is going to drive this segment. We hope. Man, I'm about to dunk on this fool.
So the guy he's getting dunked on is a rookie named Yantu Wannabe.
Yantu Wannabe is his name.
Yantu Wannabe.
Wow.
What is that from?
That was our special guest segment, Dunk of the Week. I, of course, played Crazy Legs and Don't Be a Menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood. Yeah, I got a dream. That was me. So periodically throughout the season, we will have Crazy Legs weigh in on what he feels is the Dunk of the Week. I'm surprised he only gave that Anthony Edwards dunk an 8. Crazy Legs is like a Russian judge. Very hard to get a 10 out of Crazy Legs.
So this Anthony Edwards, this guy's a rookie. He's unbelievable. He reminded me, remember when Shaq broke the backboard when he was a rookie?
Absolutely.
It was that good. This guy.
Yeah. No, this dude. This is what
Kobe, Michael Jordan as a rookie. These guys had unbelievable dunks. My favorite dunk of a rookie, it's still Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin, I forgot who he dunked over. Maybe it was Kendrick Perkins, but he did a monster dunk as a rookie.
Yes.
And it was great. This dunk is probably the best dunk I've seen in 5 years. I mean,
this is 5 years. Wow, you're saying the best dunk in 5 years. That's pretty good. I was going to throw back another classic Minnesota Timberwolves player. Do you remember a guy by the name of Isaiah Ryder? You remember Isaiah Ryder?
Isaiah Ryder, University of Nevada, Las Vegas. I know Isaiah Ryder very well.
That's right.
I love watching him play. He was unbelievable. He was great. But tell me
we got a question from Matt Kleiman. I need to take this because this one piqued my interest. Matt Kleiman asks, Michael Jordan turned 58 last week. That's right. We got to shout out Michael Jordan. Shout out to Michael Jordan. He wants to know, do you guys think he could still play in the NBA? And also, on that Anthony Edwards dunk on the weekend, it reminded him of Ross the Boss back in the day. Wow.
Thanks, Matt Kleiman.
Did you have ups like that, Ross?
Oh, yeah. I used to get height like that all the time. I had a 44-inch. I had a 44-inch something.
I had a 44-inch tricycle.
Easily. And, I mean, I used to jump out of the house when I was that young. I mean, this kid is, I think he's 20 years old.
Is that why they call you the boss?
That's why they call me
the boss. Because you had ups like that?
But to answer your question, I think Michael Jordan can play in the NBA right now easily. That's my answer.
Really?
I mean, he's such a freak when it comes to like being an athlete and just being, he can play anytime. He quit the sport, came back a week later when the baseball went on strike, and he scored like 40 points. I mean, what does that tell you? He didn't shoot a basketball, he said, for 6 months. And he's out there playing all of a sudden, and he's scoring, and he's like one of the best players in the league after taking a year off. What does that tell you? Come on.
Nobody loves Michael Jordan more than I do. I don't know if he could play to the level that for Michael Jordan's excellence. Like Michael Jordan was a guy that, would like to be on top. He went out on top. That was his whole style. That's part of the Jordan mystique. I think Jordan could always get buckets, of course, but I don't know if he could play in this new NBA. I'm just going to put that out there.
Okay,
and I know
fine.
it sounds like a Jordan hater, but
that's fine.
He would have the
Ross
best
the Boss
shoes.
disagrees
How about
with
that?
you.
He
I think
would
Jordan
have the
could go
best
out there. I think he can at least get a double if he played right now. That guy's that good. He's that smart. He's that fine of an athlete.
Okay.
That's Michael Jordan. You're totally wrong,
Okay.
Sully. I don't agree with you with that. I'm Ross the Boss. Our next segment we're going to do is called What's Up. So, Sully, say what's up for me.
It's not called What's Up, boss. It's called Say What. I do like your version, though. You were just like,
what's up?
What's
okay,
up?
we'll say what?
What's
okay. up? Say what?
Our next segment is called Say What. You should actually
what?
say it
There
like
you
that.
go. So say
That's how
what?
you'll remember it. Try it one time, boss.
Say what?
That was so black.
Say
that was
what?
perfect for Black History
So
Month.
LeBron James tweeted last week that he's producing and doing a rap album, but he's not going to rap on the album. And I'm like saying to myself, so you're doing an album, but you're not going to rap on it. That's like you doing a comedy album and saying, I'm not doing any jokes.
Yeah.
How can this guy possibly be on an album, a rap album, and not rap? He says, I'm not rapping. I'm not making a fool of myself like Shaq did. Remember when Shaq did that album and how bad it was? That was bad. I mean, Shaq did a rap album. That wasn't good. Dame Lillard.
You didn't like My Biological Didn't Bother.
Dame Lillard can rap. That's the real
Dame
deal.
Lillard can rap. I'll give you
He can rap. I'll give it to him. But I don't blame LeBron. I know he's a big music guy. He knows music like no one else does. He knows.
Yes, he does.
He can sing
yes,
it.
He
knows
does.
songs before they come out. He knows every word by heart.
Yes.
I don't know how he doesn't.
He gets advanced copies
time
of
not
stuff.
to play basketball.
LeBron James is very, very plugged in.
He's very plugged in, but he wants to do a rap album. What's your thoughts on that? I mean, what kind of thought process is this?
Well, I just think LeBron is at the point where he's King James. And the king gets what he wants. I don't know how he's going to pull this off. Maybe he's going to produce it. Maybe it's LeBron James Presents, and it gives him a chance to work with artists that he knows and loves. And maybe he's just going to produce it.
Maybe he will. I mean, he produces TV shows. He produces movies.
That's right. This dude is all world. He's the king.
He's
you
an
got to bow
actor.
down to the king.
He gives money to charity.
Yes.
He's a basketball player. He does everything. This guy.
I would say this, boss.
He's a producer. He does everything.
I would say this. If he's going to come out with a rap album and he's not rapping on it, maybe it's because he's got his hands full having to keep the Lakers afloat right now that Anthony Davis is out. How about that? Maybe he doesn't have time to write rhymes because he's too busy having to get wins for the Lakers.
Did you see his press conference yesterday or 2 days ago? He did a press conference after they lost. They lost to Miami and they lost to the Nets, which I loved. So that being said, he did a press conference saying he has to do more. So just so you know what's going on with him, before AD got hurt, he had the 50th rated most minutes in the league. So he played. Out of the ratings of all the players, he was number 50 for playing time. Ever since AD came down, he's number one.
Uh-oh. That's not good.
He's 36
For a guy
years
in
old.
his 18th year, you do not want to burn him out in the regular season.
I just think if they finish in the top four in the ratings, they're fine. So they don't have to win the league to win the playoffs. That doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything at all. So they should really play some games where they just rest LeBron. They don't even play him and see what the guys can do with LeBron out and AD, which I think is good for the young players good playing time. It's great for the players. And if it's a loss, it's a loss. They're still going to make the playoffs. It doesn't matter.
Right. I kind of agree with you. I think you really have to be careful with how you use LeBron.
He wants
LeBron
more responsibility. What more can he get? I mean, his back.
But LeBron has always been. This is one thing, though, boss.
He's going crazy.
Boss, this is one thing. You got to realize, though, that LeBron has always been a one-man band. There were those teams in his Cleveland eras where you couldn't even name 3 players that played alongside with him. And there were specific eras where he was the man. So he is used to doing it all. And I think that he's comfortable with that. He's like, hey, if this is what I got to do.
He really is. And he never blames any of his teammates. He always takes the blame himself, which I commend him on. I mean, he's scoring like 30 points a game. He has like a triple-double. He's like doing everything again. But he never points the finger at somebody else. He never says, Suli, it's your fault I lost tonight. He'll never do that. He'll take the blame himself.
And that is the mark of a winner.
It really is. I mean, I have to commend him. I got to tell you. I mean, that's a great attitude to have, because it's always easy to point the finger at somebody else. And
well,
LeBron
let me make one last point too about this LeBron overloads on minutes thing. He just passed 35,000 points, right? So, and that's on the all-time scoring list.
All 30. There's only two people in front of him. Two people.
There are only two people in front of him, and those are two really good players. So I think LeBron uses motivation that regular people just don't understand. So even though AD is down right now and he's expected to do more, I think he's eyeing that list and is like, well, I'm just going to score as many points as I can. So LeBron is cut from a different cloth, okay? That dude has a totally different motivation. So I'm just going to leave that there. I think it's time we transition now, y'all.
It's time for, drum roll, Suli's Sneaker Vault.
That's right, where I share a gem from my collection. All right, guys, this is the last day before Black History Month ends for us, for Run It Back. When we see you again, it's going to be March 1st. Black History Month will be over. So what I wanted to do, we were talking about the great Michael Jordan. I'm going to share a pair of shoes that I wore today. The Air Jordan 1s. These are a very special Air Jordan 1. These were made for Charlie Murphy's character. He had this character named Leroy Smith, and these are the Leroy Smith Air Jordans. Leroy Smith was Michael Jordan's motivational coach, and these clips, commercials, promos that they did for this version of Jordans are hilarious. Charlie Murphy is hilarious in this. So I'm combining comedy and Black History Month, and I'm celebrating Charlie Murphy with these, the Air Jordan Leroy Smiths. As you can see, they're quite colorful. They've got purple, they've got fuchsia, they've got gold, because Charlie Murphy was all about gold. They've even got like a cloth swoosh on them, which makes it cool, and a little jump man on the back, as you can see. Ingrained in the gold says the words motivize, posterize, and inspirize. So there's jokes all throughout this sneaker. This is just a shout out to Charlie Murphy, who is hilarious, and we miss that dude. So that is my Suli Sneaker Vault of the week. These sneakers actually aren't super expensive. If you wanted a pair, I highly recommend it. This is just a dope Jordan to have in your collection. So there you go. The Leroy Smith Air Jordan 1s in tribute to Charlie Murphy.
I love those Leroy Smiths. I love Leroy Brown. I love that song, Bad Leroy Brown. My favorite songs. Boss the Boss listens to that all the time, because I am Bad Leroy Brown.
That's right. The boss loves anybody named Leroy. So just the fact that I said Leroy was more than enough on this episode.
Who's hot? Who's not? Let's talk about it. That's the segment right now. I want to talk about the Toronto Raptors and how well they're doing. And everybody counted them out. Oh, they're playing in Tampa. They're not going to win in Tampa. They're not even playing in Toronto. They're playing in Florida because of the pandemic. And then all being said, they're winning games. They beat the Sixers last week. They're playing unbelievable. They have a 4-game winning streak. They're playing great basketball in Toronto. I love Van Fleet. I love that team. I don't know if they'll win the East, but you know what? That's another team you got to worry about now. You got Brooklyn, you got Toronto, you got the Sixers. The one team you don't have is the Boston Celtics. You don't have to worry about them anymore. How about that, Suli? What do you think about the Celtics Penguins?
Well, I'm gonna quickly agree with you with the Toronto Raptors. I watched those guys play as well. There are few teams that play harder than that team. You just can't count them out. If you don't show up ready to play, they will beat you, and they'll beat you with some unlikely sources. I saw a dude named Bobby Boucher, who is very smooth in his game, putting up numbers. So I do like the Toronto Raptors. They are definitely hot and a team to watch out for.
We got a question from George Tucci, Montreal.
George is back.
Tucci. There's comedy involved in this, so you got to listen. You got to answer this, Suli.
Okay.
Maybe Blake Griffin is practicing his stand-up comedy more than he is basketball. Why would he be doing that?
Shots fired.
Boom, boom,
George
boom.
is definitely taking shots at the great Blake Griffin.
I know.
I think Blake Griffin is in a situation where, he's done everything that he can with the Detroit Pistons. They want to see if they can move him and go in a different direction. You can't fault them. Blake had a lot of commercials at one time. He was a superstar. I think he's in that weird position now where, because of his contract, he's in a space of redefining himself. Every now and again, you got to redefine yourself. I would love to see Blake Griffin dunk again, because I think there is nothing like a dunk and a Blake Griffin dunk to remind people of who that guy is and why we first fell in love with him.
He has not dunked since 2019. If you disagree with Suli or if you agree with Suli, please comment now.
Yeah,
we'll take comments. I'll be happy to read them. Suli will read them. He'll answer them. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Follow us on all the social media things. We're ready to answer questions. Follow us. We always have funny comments, funny stuff going on. I want to ask you about the Celtic Pelicans game. That was a 24-point lead for the Celtics, and somehow the Pelicans came back with Zion Williamson, and they took the lead from the Celtics. Sully, what do you think about that huge loss for the Celtics, who are 500 right now?
I think it's just another example of how much the Celtics are in trouble. We talked about it briefly last week. I think a lot of the responsibility does fall on the coach, but I don't know if you know about this, boss. This week, Danny Ainge did comment on this very topic, and he said that it does not fall on the coach, which I was surprised about. He said the reason that the Celtics are not playing good basketball is because they don't have good players. Aside from the two guys that I think we can all agree will be all-stars, that's Jason Tatum, who is incredible, and Jaylen Brown, who gets buckets. That guy gets buckets. Those guys are great. But when you go down the roster, it's kind of hard to find another guy that is stepping up. I don't know if you saw that play, boss, where Zion went in for a bucket and Daniel Tice tried to stop him and just bounced off him like he was a marshmallow bullet, okay?
And you never saw him again. He did that play, and I noticed the Celtics.
He bounced off Zion so hard, this dude bounced out of bounds and into the locker room.
He really did.
He just decided to shower and was like, I'm done.
Never Theus the rest of the game. It was unbelievable. I mean, I love when the Celtics lose. Because all those Celtic fans are the worst fans, and I just around them. They're obnoxious. They have no idea what they're talking about. It's all about them. It's not about anybody else. I can't stand Celtic fans. I love it when they lose. I celebrate, and they're 500 right now. I'm just hope they don't make the playoffs. Please, please, please don't make the playoffs.
Well, I'll tell you something. We had talked about the Pelicans early on when we first started doing this show, and I said that the Pelicans were a lock to make the playoffs. And the way they started out the first part of the season, they were really struggling. They just weren't.
I said a year away. I did not agree with you on that.
Yeah, that's something we definitely differed on. We definitely differed on that. But the reason I said that was because I thought Brandon Ingram's growth was so tremendous in the bubble and the previous year, and I figured he went to such another level that you bring Zion in and you give Zoe another chance to figure it out, that this team was going to do something good. I thought bringing Steven Adams in was great because you got a big dude that's like a garbage truck doing the dirty work. I think Zion's growth has been great. He's a definite all-star, him and Brandon Ingram. I love Zion. Zion is fun to watch. He is the most fun 20-year-old in the NBA right now. That dude reminds me of one of those B characters in those black exploitation movies, like Old Smokey. He's the dude that works part-time in sanitation. but he really wants to be an NBA superstar, and he's trying to figure it out. So the church is raising money to buy him a pair of shoes. So
I've seen that movie before. I love that movie. It's great.
You know that movie.
I know that movie. I've seen it 100 times.
I love Zion. Zion's like a big dude. I love Zion
too.
He's awkward. He looks like he eats biscuits and gravy all the time. He's a fantastic player to watch. I love Zion. I love this victory for them on a national stage. This was a big television game. Like you said, I picked the Pelicans to make the playoffs, so I'm rooting for them. Go Zion, go do your thing.
Go ahead. Okay, really quickly, yes. I want to ask you about the AllStar voting. They called the starters out. I agreed with everything except one. Luka was voted as a starter, and Lillard was not. Let me just tell you something.
You had Luka as your MVP. How can you have someone as the MVP of the league but not make the All-Star team?
Because they're in 14th place and they're not in the playoff contention. And I felt Luka's a great player, but I felt Lillard with all his last-second shots and what he's been doing this season, he's been unbelievable with McCullough out, with the injuries in Portland. He's been carrying that team on his shoulders, just like LeBron's has to do. But Lillard has been playing at a different pace of any player in the league right now. He was, and I think he deserved to start. That's the only thing I'm going to say. I think Luka's a great player. He should for sure be on the team. He's 22 or 23 years old.
Not a first team.
But I just feel it's not his turn. It's Lillard's turn. I thought he stole it from him. Another great piece that I watched Jamal Murray of the Denver Nuggets.
Well, Jamal Murray's great, but before we go there,
points.
I have to hold that thought because I have to speak on this.
On what?
With the NBA releasing the first team All-Star picks, I was proud to say that I got them all right in the East and the West, except for I did not have Kyrie Irving as a first-team All-Star. And I know that sounds crazy.
Why did you not? Kyrie
I know
Irving
that sounds insane.
That's a huge mistake. Who did we have?
It's not a huge mistake, though. And here's my rationale.
Who was
I think
it?
Trae Young
who
has
was in
very
Atlanta
similar
Hawks,
numbers. If you look at their numbers, they have very similar numbers. And here's the thing that pushed me over the edge. Trae Young did not mysteriously disappear from his team for upwards of a week with no explanation.
I disagree. It was his sister's birthday. He had to be there. It's very important to him. You have no idea what you're talking about. The birthday for the sister was more
important. Remember that, NBA players, if you have a sister and she has a birthday,
he flies to Minnesota to be with her, which is a great gesture.
And if you feel like leaving for a week and not telling your other teammates, I don't care how talented they are.
To do with Jordan.
You can just
he used to leave for a week to go to Vegas.
Dennis Rodman went to Vegas for a long weekend, okay?
But Jordan had to fly to Vegas to get him out.
And it was nobody's birthday, okay? Other than his own in his head.
Well, sure,
all right?
It was some girl's birthday that he found, but whatever.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to stop the flow with Jamal Murray. Please
tell me about Jamal Murray.
I
know you're a big fan of him, even though he's Canadian, and we don't like Canadians. You know that we're Americans. Wow. We don't like Canadians. Well, they're all horrible people. No Canadians.
Our Canadian fans,
we're kidding.
Half of us feel that way. All right? I enjoy.
No, I love Montreal. I've been there a million times for festivals and everything else.
I love Canadian.
Been there. Great times.
Is cool.
Jamal Murray
Right.
he had something that I never heard ever in the NBA. 50 points without shooting one free throw, which is unbelievable. I never heard of that stat in my life. And Jamal Murray, he's been hanging. His season has not been great this year. It's not been like a stellar year like last year during the playoffs. He was unstoppable. This guy could not lose. I mean, he made it so the Clippers lost. This guy is a machine, but he started out this year very slow. Now he's getting back into pace.
Yes.
Now it's the Jamal Murray league.
Anytime, boss, you can score 50 without going to the free throw line is really impressive. I didn't even know that was possible. That means you are just getting buckets without contact at all. That means
no contact.
The jump shot is liquid nitrogen. Okay, you are
unbelievable.
Fuego. Like to get 50 without going to the line at all. That's all buckets. That's dunks with nobody challenging you. That's open threes. That's mid-range. I really like Jamal Murray's game a lot because the thing about Jamal Murray is you look at him, you're like, this dude can't play at all. Like he really does look like one of Drake's accountants. Like if you really
we
want
have
to break
a comment. We have a comment from Dr. Dan Ratner, who's actually one of the biggest doctors in the Cleveland area. If you ever need any help with your head, you call Dr. Dan Ratner. I love garbage trucks on the basketball court. Charles Barkley was the all-time best garbage truck. I disagree. Suli, I'll tell you my favorite garbage truck talker on the court.
Okay, give it to me.
Mine is Larry Bird. Larry Bird
as a garbage truck. I don't think anyone has ever described
I'm talking about
the great Larry
garbage.
Legend as a garbage truck.
I'm talking about talking garbage.
Wow, you really hate the Celtics, don't you?
No, I love Larry Legend actually, but he talked so much trash during the games. He would actually he told the Portland Trail Blazers, I want to rest my right hand, so I'm going to use my left hand today, and I'll beat you with my left hand, which he scored 46 points against the Portland Trail Blazers. Right. He used to talk so much trash on the court. It was unbelievable. I mean, I think
I just figured something out, the boss. When you hear trash, you think trash talk. When I say garbage truck, I'm referring to a dude that does the dirty work, like a guy that gets rebounds, a guy that boxes out.
I was talking about trash talk. I misunderstood it. It's fine.
Yeah, a guy that sets heavy screens. A guy like Zujanis Idraskis is a garbage truck, okay? That's a garbage truck player. Steven Adams, garbage truck. Who's the guy that plays for the Orlando Magic, the center that's killing people?
Vologic. He's a Russian.
Yes, that's right. You can't even say his name. That's how much of a garbage truck he is.
I don't know what the hell it is.
That's a garbage truck.
Doesn't matter. What I'm saying is this. Kurt Rambis was a good garbage player, too.
Exactly. But there you go. That's a good garbage truck.
I want to talk about – I want to do a little rant here. I want to talk about a coach that was fired yesterday. Ryan Sanders was fired from the Minnesota Timberwolves, and he – worst record of any coach in the past 2 years. His Timberwolves were like 7-23 years this year. He was fired yesterday. Not a surprise. I like the kid. His dad was Flip Sanders, who was an all-time great coach also. But this guy was a great coach. But that all being said, instead of hiring a minority, they came out and they hired a guy that was the assistant coach in Toronto, not even in his organization. And they had an assistant coach, David, what's his name? David Thornhill, something like that.
David Fizdale?
No, David Thornhill. Tisdale's not coach, but I love David Tisdale. I see him all the time. But that being said, they had a great assistant coach who was African American, sitting on the sidelines that knew the team. That's 47-year-olds who was a player back in the day. He's an assistant coach for a while, but they went outside the organization, hired this guy Finch, and for some reason they did not hire a minority. There's so many great black people that would have been great as the coach. There's Chauncey Phillips. There's Sam Cassell that we love. There's Nate McMillan. There's even Jason Kidd. Instead, they hired this no-name assistant out of Toronto. Well, actually Tampa. But it was just, I don't know why we don't see more African-American coaches in the NBA. I think it starts, you know what it starts from? It starts from the high level. You don't see any GMs. There's only like one GM in the NBA who's black, and that's for Phoenix. There's a minority Latino who's the GM and president for the Minnesota Timberwolves, which is interesting because he went out and he hired his friend in Minnesota. I mean, his friend in Toronto for some reason. I don't even understand. But that being said, I just don't get why we don't see more minority coaches in the NBA, because it's just a shame. Suli, what do you think?
You know what I think about that? I'm glad that you brought this topic up. I wholeheartedly support this rant, especially during Black History Month. It's true. When the Timberwolves fired their head coach, and I knew it was coming. I mean, first of all, if you're Anthony Edwards and you do a dunk like that, you're sending a message. You're sending a message that, A, this team has a lot of talent and this coach isn't reflective of that. But then to go out and bring in a dude named Chip, I believe the guy's name is Chip, okay?
It is named Chip.
His name is Chip. That's not it. That's not it. As my kids would say, that's not it, Chief. There are a ton of very qualified black coaches that need to get honest looks. We are in we're in 2021. And if your workforce is primarily people of color and Europeans that shoot jump shots, the coaching and the upper echelon should reflect that as well. I would love to see Larry Drew be a head coach. That guy has so much basketball knowledge. He's been in winning organizations. There's so many people.
There's Chauncey Billups. There's
Yes,
Sam
right.
Cassell that we love Sam Cassell.
A bunch of people.
Dave McMillan, who's unbelievable. These are great.
There are
Jason
so
Kidd,
many,
who was a
there
coach.
are
He did a
so
great
many
job. He
talented
couldn't get hired
coaches
back.
That should get a shot. And I do think coaching these days is part X and O's, but it's mostly how you relate to your players. And you have to be able to relate to these young men and know how to motivate them without them turning on you. So if you come from the same background, if you have the same experience, I think former pro players make great coaches because they've been there and they've done that.
I agree. And people were
So
upset
yeah,
that
I
Steve
couldn't
Nash
agree
got
more
hired.
with this rant. I think this rant raises important issues, and hopefully,
I think it does
change
too.
is
And
gonna
I just
come.
think
How
that
about
people
that?
can change in all sports, having more minorities coach. I know people were upset about Steve Nash coaching Brooklyn. I was kind of skeptical on that, but I think it was a good hire just because he's a guy, 2-time MVP that actually.
Yes, he's got a wealth of
coach.
knowledge. He's been there. He knows
Yeah,
what
so
it's like to be an
you know,
alpha.
people were knocking that thing, and he's Canadian, and the owner of the Nets is Canadian, more Canadian stuff.
Wow.
And
This
I
is
know
a
they were
very
buddies.
Canadian dominant
Very
show.
Canadians, getting upset. There's too many Canadians in the NBA. We got to get rid of that.
Well, Ross, you
Louis,
make
it's
some
time for
great
the fourth
points.
quarter.
We are definitely in the fourth quarter. You
in
just
the
you
fourth
took the words
quarter.
right out of my mouth. Literally, we are in the fourth quarter. So it is time to close this thing out. We have one topic that we haven't got to. Let's just celebrate someone's greatness. I believe in giving people their roses when they deserve them. Chris Paul just moved up to number 5 on the all-time assist leader record. And so that is a phenomenal feat. He passed a super legend, Mr. Big O Oscar Robertson, to be number 5 on that list. And there are some heavy hitters on that list. Chris Paul still has a lot of good years of basketball in him. I love what they're doing with the Suns. The Suns are 4th place in the West right now. Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and that young center have so much talent. So Chris Paul, shout out to you. Keep climbing, keep throwing out those dimes. We love your game. And we even love your commercials.
He's great on those Allstate commercials. I love
Yes,
how
he
he does
is.
those
He
commercials.
shoots so many of those Allstate commercials. Now he doesn't even know when he's filming them. I don't know if you've seen them lately. He's like, hey, man, I think we're in an Allstate commercial. He doesn't even know. That's how many commercials he has.
And I actually read a great story real quick, and I'll let you go. The guy with him in the commercial, the African-American spokesman, he was a homeless guy that went to college in University of Chicago, got his degree in acting. He was homeless, had nothing going on. He went into the commercial audition. He nailed it, and he became the spokesman of State Farm.
Boss, come on. That is a great story, but there is no way I believe that. That dude, first of all, has guns. Like, he lifts weights every day. At the
You're
gym.
an actor.
Like,
You
there's
gotta
no
stay
way. He may be homeless, but he clearly had a couple of gym memberships, all right? So I don't believe that at all. Like, that dude, you know, he doesn't even sound homeless. Like, he has the most user-friendly, light-skinned black voice I think I've ever heard, all right? This guy couldn't be, like, he's like, hey, guys, I'm your friend. Like, no homeless person has ever sound that warm and charming. So I don't believe that story at all. Did you see the picture that he posted when they did the Super Bowl commercial with Drake?
I saw that. Yes. I
No
did see
homeless dude has that nice of a jacket. That jacket was fly, okay? So I don't
I'm
believe
just
that at all.
telling you what I read, Suli. I'm Ross
Okay,
Mark.
well, I think that is a complete fabrication.
I'm Ross the Boss Mark, and that's Suli McCullough. This is Run It Back. We had a great show. We'll be back next week. Please subscribe. Please press the bell. Press like. Follow us on all the social
Do what you got to do. There'll be more games
Follow
next
us on all the
week.
social medias. And I love talking basketball with you, Cowboy.
That's right. You heard him, Cowboy. All of a sudden, we're on a ranch somewhere. We'll see you guys next week.
We're gonna set the internet on fire. With Killer Queen